Hey, hi everyone. Good afternoon. Welcome to the Tableau Bootcamp. I can't see your faces, but I would assume that I can see your faces. Okay, so we're just going to quickly get into things. My name is Abisola Oni. Together with Idris and a couple of other Tableau visionaries and Tableau ambassadors, we're hosting this bootcamp all through the month of October. It's been a long time coming, and we're finally happy to be able to put this out. So I'm just going to quickly run through. You may have seen WeVisualize, WeViz, Lagos TUG. WeVisualize was started in 2019, and we also think about it as the Lagos Tableau user group. And off and on, we've had like sessions. We started off with like in-person sessions, and that's where I've met like a couple of people that were doing this together. And then COVID hit and we moved to like online. And we've been off and on scheduling and all that. Anyway, so happy to be doing this through this month. I'm just going to quickly share my screen to run through just to run through. I believe everybody may have seen this, but let me show it again. This is what the calendar looks like for the rest of the month. We meet again next week, Saturday and Sunday. And then we have a break between the 14th and 15th. On the 14th, there's Data Fest Africa, so register for that if you haven't, so you can attend. After that, we resume on the 21st, so we have another session, 21st, 22nd, and then we wrap up on the 28th. On the 28th, for those, hopefully everybody here makes it to the final session. We'll be giving assessments in between, but the 28th will be like both remote friendly and in-person in Lagos. So looking forward to seeing you all there. A few house rules, please be on mute. I think everybody's already muted. If you have questions, just use the chat box. Use the Q&A rather, not the chat box. Use the Q&A. And if somebody has asked a question that you also have the same question, just upvote it or +1, right? This is a view of everything we're going to be learning and the facilitators. So I would also share this link in the chat box so that everyone can access it if you haven't. And I'm just going to ask a quick question. If you've downloaded Tableau Public, just reply yes in the chat. If you've downloaded Tableau Public before this class, just say yes. And if you haven't, please make sure you do. We want this bootcamp to be very hands-on, very, very hands-on. We are not giving certificates. It's not about getting a certificate to say, yes, I attended, but the real proof of the pudding is at the end of this month, you have your Tableau portfolio up and running, and you have a few projects that you've done and that we've guided you on. So what else? Yes, I think that's mostly it. I have a quiz, just a quick quiz. Let me try and find that. So you guys are going to help me answer this question, right? So if you can see my screen, let me share again. Right. So if you can see my screen, how many toothbrushes can you see in this picture? Just let me know in the comment. How many toothbrushes? 2. Okay. 1, 2, 1. They're not sure. 2, 1, 1, 2. Okay, different answers. Well, this is just to emphasize like data visualization and importance of visualization and how our brain thinks about numbers and shapes and colors. There are actually 2 toothbrushes in here. But yeah, that was just the fun quiz. So at this point, I'm going to hand over to our first session leader, Tobi Williams. He's the founder of Resagratia, a data analytics training bootcamp, and he'll tell you more about himself. After that, we'll have the session for about 50 minutes. I think we'll have questions at the end, and then we'll go on a quick 2 minutes break before we come back to the next section with Gbolahan Adebayo. All right, over to you, Tobi.
Hi, Abby. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Good evening to those joining from this side of the world. Thank you, Abby, for the wonderful introduction. I'm excited to get started. How do can I share my screen? Do I need to turn on my video? Are we good? Let me see. Okay.
We can see your screen now.
Okay, awesome. So, good evening, everyone. My name is Tobi Williams, the
But we're
founder
seeing,
of
sorry, Toby, we're seeing just the Zoom page on your browser.
a Zoom page.
Yes.
Oh, sorry, I was sharing the wrong screen. Is that
Yes, we can see it now.
okay? Okay, cool. Awesome. Yeah, so my name is Tobi Williams. I'm the founder and CEO of Resa Gratia. We run data bootcamps. You can check out Resa Data Bootcamp. I'm excited to be here, and I have the opportunity to take you on the first topic, which is introduction to Tableau. I hope you can all see my screen. Before we begin, I'm hoping this is a very practical session. So if you haven't already downloaded Tableau Public, you should. It's about 500 megabytes. And I actually have Tableau Public open right now. I have the desktop version, as you can see. You can also use it online, right? So if you go on public.tableau.com, you can start authoring your visualizations directly from your browser. So that's another alternative. Great. Okay, cool. Just in terms of like an agenda, I will be showing you, connecting to data, how to navigate Tableau, difference between live and extract data types, and creating your first dashboard, right? From the multiple worksheets that you have in your workbook, right? And finally, exporting your sheets, or maybe doing things like cross tab and maybe even saving your dashboard to public. So as you might have already guessed, if you've tried it at all, right, you can't save your Tableau public or your Tableau dashboard if you have like a Tableau public license, right? Which is what I have here. So you can go to File and try to save it to your local system. You're not going to be able to do anything. I'm actually in the Tableau public environment right now. The only options that you have are to save to Tableau public or to save to Tableau public as, in case you want to rename your dashboard. So this is very, very, very good exercise to know how to get started, how to start creating your vises and your data stories, essentially. Okay. So getting started with Tableau. You've downloaded Tableau. You've opened up Tableau Public, right, as you can see. The first thing you want to do is you want to connect to data, right? So it looks like this, right? The first view, right? I click the Tableau icon over here. One very interesting thing is that Tableau already gives you like a feedback, right? It says save locally, right? Work with big data, connect to more data sources. which I suppose like requires you to upgrade. So it means at this point, you have a limited set of connections that you can make, right? A limited set of data sources that you can connect to. We have, what do we have here? Excel, text, JSON, Microsoft Excel, or Microsoft Access. You also have spatial files, which are like, mapping files that you can connect to, which is pretty, really, really cool. And anyway, maybe at the end, I'm going to share that news. And you have an option to connect to some additional data sources, but essentially you're limited by the data sources that you can connect. There's also a section over here, which I find very exciting at the right-hand side, which is the V's of the day. I think it's really, really awesome way to find inspiration, right? So you can check those out. You can connect to some sample data sets, etc. Anyway, let's jump into connecting to an Excel file. I actually had a file that I wanted to use before. I used for like a superstore data set, but then I'm seeing sample data sets here. So I'm just trying to give it a go, real time now. And what does it do? It opens up a browser tab where there's a set of different data sets that you can download, right? Superstore sales. So you can download this, right? If you don't have it, you can go here and download it. That's what I'm going to be connecting to. So again, Tableau facilitates how you can connect to like different data sources. And here is like an even awesome list I didn't know about until now. Usually I just connect to like the Superstore data sets. So that's what we're going to be using. The first one, business, Superstore, right? I'll close this for now. And it's an Excel file. I'm just going to go to Excel like this and I'm going to, connect to it, right? Like so. I've already done that, right? In my case, right? I've already done that. So after connecting to that, it brings up this interface where you have the connections over here. And within that connection, right, whatever you're connecting to, if you think about it, if you're connecting to an Excel workbook, you can have multiple sheets. In the Excel workbook, you can have you can have tables, right? Defined named ranges and defined tables. All of those things will be listed here. So in this workbook, essentially, we have only one sheet called orders. And this is what has been automatically like populated into this canvas. In this canvas, this is where you do your data model. You're going to learn all about it later in the Tableau Bootcamp. And yeah, like I don't need to do anything much more than what you see here. Excuse me, which is just looking at browsing through my data set to see my columns, checking that, my definitions for each column header is appropriate in terms of its data type. So sales, you can see this hashtag. It's been stored, right, as a number, right? It's been defined as a number, which is fine, right? And there's a decimal to it, right? Because the sales is not like a whole number. There's like decimal digits at the end. Quantity, on the other hand, is a whole number, right? I can't sell 2.5 biscuits, right? Or 1.5 lamps. So it's a whole number. And yeah, like the others, right? things like this are stored as text, right? They're essentially categorical data, right? String is another way for text. I will tell you more about it as we build your first couple of views and we navigate through like Tableau. So you can imagine like all these others are text as well, right? Sheet mode. And you have another data type, right, that you have here, which is country, geographical rather, right? So this type of data is marked as a geographical data set. It means it has some spatial component to it, something that can represent or can be represented on a map, right? And if it goes to geographic role, you see it as region. Sometimes it might not be defined automatically. It's whether Tableau can find it or not. So if you feel like you have some Nigerian data set and it doesn't identify it immediately, you can manually go there and change the role, right? The data type. So city as well, state, postal code, they're all geographical data types, right? And there's another data type here, which is like dates, right? So dates, some are date time if they have additional time stamps, right? Time components attached to it. But in this case, we have dates. Okay, I'm just going through the questions. Right, I'm very happy to slow down a little bit more. I mentioned earlier that the data set can be downloaded from, if you go back to the beginning here, show the start page, and you click on sample data sets. If you have Tableau public, that is, right? If you click on sample data sets, like so, it will bring up this page, right? And from this page, you can download the first one here. It's called Superstore Sales. And that's what I'm using. Okay, so I'm going to close that. And I will go back to my data sets. So again, we're in the place where you connect to data. Essentially, you design your models, joins, add filters, right? Data source filters and all that. And I'm just introducing you to Tableau. You're going to learn more advanced concepts as time goes on. So now you know about how to bring in your data, right? Connect to a data source. It could be Excel, it could be CSV, text file, it could be a database, right? It could be anything. It could be to the web, it could be PDF. And you know how to look at the columns that you have in your data, right? The preview, and change their data types if they've not been properly identified, right? So let's jump into navigating Tableau. Once you do that, once everything is all right, there is one more thing. Okay, so once everything is all right, you can just come into like sheet 1 here, right? Tableau will automatically populate your first sheet. So you always find a sheet 1, right? And this is the Tableau interface. It's no different, right, to your Microsoft Word, or Excel, or whatever, right? By that, I mean you have, menu items at the top. Right, so mine is showing 21 fields and I can see 24 fields from it. It's fine. There might be some slight differences. There have been so many different updates to the Superstore data sets. The idea is that you have a sales data set for like different regions. So this is the interface is no different, right? Like compared to Excel, Power BI, or even like Microsoft Word, right? You have menu items, right? But what is very striking is that you immediately see this left-hand pane where your table and fields, right, the columns from your data are populated, right? So it comes out in this format. Then at the top, you see the menu items, right? Let's have a look at what you have in the menu items, right? For instance, in file, you have new, you want to create a new Tableau public workbook, or you want to open one from file, or you want to open one directly from Tableau public. If you look at the data pane, you can connect to a new data source. If you look at the worksheets, right? It asks you, it tells you can create a new worksheet with a shortcut attached. And there's some other additional extended items here, which you're going to learn a bit more about. So then there's an option for dashboard, right? From here, you can create a new dashboard. We're going to get to that. But earlier, you might have seen this screen. So this screen over here is a dashboard, right? And you can use dashboards for many things, right? I am not displaying a visual right now, but I am displaying some content, all text. There's no additional data source or numbers behind this, right? Later on, we're going to be using dashboards to display some answers, right? Some visual answers to very simple questions. Then you have an option for story. Story is another component of Tableau that allows you to put together dashboards and worksheets to essentially tell a story. Probably you were expecting something more elaborate, but that's pretty much it, right? And the stories are very unique, right? In that they are built to allow you go from one step to another step, right? It's like moving through slides, essentially. And they want you to essentially like create that story effect, you know? You start with one slide, you tell your story, it goes to the next slide, you tell the story, etc. Analysis here, you get to add more like extended, would I say like options and calculations to your data, right? Things like performing totals, right? If you want to sum row or column totals, can edit the tables that you have, right? And you can also create calculated fields. Calculated fields are, it's like they are formulas, right? Combination of functions, but they are formulas that answer specific questions. But the thing is, they are custom formulas, right? It means you write them by yourself. And then you have options for maps, right? So here, like Tableau is very, very well integrated with mapping tools and features, right? It's really, really exciting, right? The things that you can do with maps in Tableau. And I hope like you get to find out more, right, about that. So we'll be running like a user group event in Abuja in November. Watch out for that if you're on LinkedIn. And you'll be able to join virtually too. And we're all going to be talking about maps, right? So you heard it here first. Anyway, formats, like it says, it's again like very, very similar to what you see in Power BI, PowerPoint. You can change your font, your background colors, you can add borders. You can, like within this canvas over here, you can change the options for your data labels, change the options for your field labels, but rather. And let's see, what's the last one? Let me move this. Okay, so you have server, right? If you want to publish, right, at the end to Tableau Public, And you have, what do you have here? You have window, right? So if you want to go into presentation mode and all of that. Okay. Just confirming, is everybody still following? All right. Are you guys with me? Are you up to date on what I'm showing you? Let me see the comments. Okay, cool. All right, so I'm going to continue. Let's jump back into our agenda. So in terms of like navigating Tableau, right, like, connecting to data, getting started with data, live and extract data types, we're going to look at that, and difference between worksheets and dashboard, and creating your first visuals and exporting, right? So let's like conclude something about the navigating Tableau. At this point here, it looks like once you connect to Tableau Public, the data is already extracted. I have a different version of Tableau open, which I can show you. And the reason is because, let me just show. And the reason is because, right, in Tableau Public, like, there's no point doing any live connection because you can only save to Tableau Public, right? Your data has to be bundled together. The raw content of the data has to be bundled together with your visualization before you can publish it to Tableau Public. But if you have a different version of Tableau, say Tableau Desktop, you'll see that next to filters here, live and an option to change it to an extract. And yeah, like I'll show that to you. Let me just see. Let me open Tableau Desktop. I guess is it coming up? I think it is, right? Just a moment. Come on. Okay, it's up. It took a while to get that up. Okay, so this is Tableau Desktop, right? The one that I was showing you before was Tableau Public, right? So it says like Tableau Public over here, Tableau Public. And Tableau Desktop just shows Tableau like this. And you can see immediately there's an extended, array of options, right, available to me to connect to, right? Data sources, from servers to Google Drive to, if you click more, you can see like a whole lot more here that will be populated, right? That said, and if you have data online, you can connect to it as well, right? Using the Tableau server option. That said, so let me just connect to like Sample Superstore again, right? Over here. I have connected to Sample Superstore. This time around, my data connection is live, right? So before I make it an extract, you can see by looking at the icon for the data source, right? You can see the icon for the data source. It just looks like a database, right? It looks like a cylinder. However, if you go back to Tableau Public, right? Let me go back to sheet 1 over here. Look at that. There's an arrow that kind of tells you, hey, like, I have moved this data. I have essentially moved it into this workbook right now, right? And I think that's maybe a way to look at how in terms of like icon differentiation, right? So this is an extracted data source, right? And this is a live data source. If you go back to the data source pane here, you can see under connection, you have an option to switch from live to extract. I see live as, it's like connect to like a live data source if you have like more real-time data needs, right? So you want to see updates more frequently. Maybe your data is not too large, right? So you can imagine if I'm trying to look at the performance of my riders, right, for an e-commerce or delivery app company, I would definitely want to connect to like a live data source if I'm looking at daily orders and fulfillment and all that stuff, right? So extract, on the other hand, usually for when you want to speed up like reports, you create extracts. They can be run at and they can be run and updated at a specific schedule. And yeah, I think that's that. So let me go back to Tableau public, extracted data. We have over here different fields, right, from our data that we can play around with. We're going to be answering questions on what's been happening with the products, right? So we want to know, for instance, maybe just 2 questions, right? Like, hey, what's the total sales, right? And what are the sales by product? And maybe even a thing, something like, like trend line of sales, right? Just a very simple mashup. So the first question is, hey, what's the total sales, right? That is usually answered with something like a scorecard, right? Scorecard is, like it's one big number, right? The band. And you can simply go into like the field, right, that you want. It's like later on, you're going to learn more about this. But things that you can aggregate, right? Fields that you can aggregate, right? That are numerical usually. They show up as green, right? As measures, and fields that you can that are categorical in nature, right? Usually of text values. You put them here in blue pills, and they are what's that? Dimensions, right? So measures and dimensions, right? And for instance, I want to do something like total sales, right? Total sales here. And I can just drag the sales. This time around, I can put it into this field, right? Like let's see what comes out if I drag and drop it into here. You can see it immediately gives me like a total figure and the sum of sales, right? Shows up under, in this place is called like a marks pane, right? Under the marks pane. And marks are ways of adding, would you say, dimensions or visual attributes to your data. So you want to add color, you want to add text, you want to change the visible size, you want to, spread the data even more, change the sort of level of detail of the data. So this is where you make those modifications. Over here at the top, you also have an option where you put pills, right? These pills into rows and columns, right? So you can see that we dropped the pill here, and what happened? It just defaulted into this marks pane, right, as text. What happens then if you drag this and drop it into the rows instead? Look at that. It creates a full bar, right? Where there's an axis and it's giving you also the total sum of sales. What happens if you drag this into the columns? It puts this in this way where it's also giving you the total sum of sales. Pretty cool. What I really want to show is a big ass number. It's the band, right? I'm just gonna put this back. Oops, looks like that disappeared. That's not a problem. We can always go back, right, over here. And you have, I believe, an unlimited number of backs and forths that you can do. So I'm going to drag it onto the table like it was before. I want it to be like really huge, and we can choose a currency here. I think like Naira. So I'm going to format it, come to the drop down pane here, click on format. I will go to numbers. In numbers, I'll go to custom, or is it currency? Where is it? Currency standard. I'm going to come down here and type Nigeria, right? I'm going to go for any of these options, right? And it looks like it's on the right-hand side. I can go back to custom. Currency custom, rather. Right? And I'm just going to carry it over X. Come on, put it prefix. Control V, like so. And I will also, what else would I do? I would truncate it, right? So put it in terms of like a certain display unit. I think it's like this, right? Which is millions, 2.3 million. I think that works. Okay, I can paste the prefix again. Just wondering why I couldn't do it directly. Okay, I think I could have directly from here, and the display units will be million here. Okay. So that's cool. So I'm just gonna leave it like that, right? And of course I wanna increase the height, right? Or the size of it, right? So I'm gonna click on this text that you see here, go to these ellipses, and make it really huge, right? So like 48, click apply, right? See, that looks like that, right? Total sales, and I'll click OK. So I can click total sales like this, rename the worksheet as total sales. Again, the terms I'm using here, worksheets, right? The icons look a bit different as well, right? So this is, if you click on it, if you just hover at the bottom, you see new worksheets. If you see this other one, what does it say? It says new dashboard. If you take a look at this one, what does it say? New story. You can publish all of these things, right? But the best idea is to combine your worksheets into dashboards, or your worksheets and your dashboards into stories, whichever you decide to, right? So I've created a worksheet. The next question that I want to answer is maybe like the trend of these sales, right? How has it looked over time? So this is like 2.3 million. That is total. But what's the trend over time? I can actually duplicate these sheets, right? I can right click, duplicate, right? So it says total sales 2. That's fine. Let me close the formatting pane. We have a dates column, right? I think we have 2 actually, order dates and ship dates. So what happens if we drag the order date into our rows like this? Exciting, huh? It splits, it's been aggregated first into year, right? Again, you can see it's a blue pill. It means it's been categorized as a dimension, right? It's been categorized as like text. So we've essentially shown sales by year. It's still carrying over our formatting, right? Huge like this. What happens if we drag this like this into our columns like this? now it's starting to show it on an x-axis basis. That's fine. I like it like this. I want to be able to see it like this, but I actually want it in a way in which I can visualize it, right? Maybe in a way in which I can turn it into a line chart, right? So the way it's captured, right, your year at the moment, it's captured as a text, right? You can convert that into a format that allows it to be plotted on a chart. And that is converting this same year, right, for instance, into a continuous field, right? So you can see it's, at the moment, it's stored as text, it's in a discrete format, and you can change it to continuous, right? And that will initially create an axis for you, right? So now you can see, oh, it's still the same data that you're seeing, right? But the difference is now you can see looking like an axis. And then you might be thinking, well, what happens if I drag my sum of sales into my rows, right? And that pretty much turns it into a line chart, right? That is very, very insightful, that tells you, shows you like the trend of sales immediately. There are some really cool things that you can do as well, right? Like changing the level of detail of the year. You might say, oh, it's not year that you want. You might say, how about we do it like on a monthly basis, right? On a month and year basis, right? So you can see month and year, see the snippets, right? If you do this, it gives you like more of this like fluctuating view that, if you think about it, might be useful to like extracting insights, where you start seeing, oh, like, this like higher sales perhaps towards the end of the year, right? This peaks. This is 2015. You can see something similar. This is also 2016. You can see something similar in December. And this is like a start, right? And let's wrap it up by saying, and we can take any questions, right? So I can rename this as what is it? Sales by month or monthly sales. And so we have two sheets like this, one like this, and other like this. I can quickly add some formatting, right, to it. Maybe right-click, remove the header that we see here. But that doesn't really make sense. So I'll go back here. What I can do is right-click, click on Edit Axis, right? And the title that you see here, I remove it, right? I just clean it up like this. I don't want any title. It looks cool the way it is like this. You might decide that you want to use 3-letter months instead, right? Okay, I see a better name in there, monthly sales trend. That's not bad. We can call it that, monthly sales trend. And decide that you want to use 3-letter stuff here instead of, and you can do that as well, right? So you come here and, change the custom for the dates. I'm not going to do any of that right now, right? I'm just going to skip and leave it as is. You can decide that you want to add the data labels, right? So you can hold Control if you want to duplicate pills, right? Just hold Control, your Control key, and then drag and add an additional mark. But that's really, really messy. So you can obviously as well change some of these items, right? So maybe it's min and max you want to show, right? Or you want to show just the line ends, like so, or you want to show the most recent, I'm going to do like show line ends and add one more like formatting, which is to split the marks, right? The tick marks really, really well. So I can update the tick marks, come here. The major tick marks, I can change the tick interval, right? To something like this, to 100K or maybe 50K, right? Just to make my chart look less cluttered and also give like a nice impression of what's going on. Yeah, so like this, I think that's cool. Obviously, 100K as well should be in Naira, but anyway, you'll get the gist. So I have a dashboard over here that I've created before. I can duplicate the dashboard again, but I can just create a new one. Dashboard 2, and we'll call it sales overview. And in sales overview, we'll go to our dashboard pane. I'm going to change the size, right? I used like a desktop browser before. Come here, change it from range to fixed, and change it to desktop browser. Yeah, that's pretty much desktop browser. That's pretty much it. I'll put a title. Before I put a title, I drag a vertical container, right? So it allows me to keep the structure of my visual by stacking things vertically on top of each other. That's pretty much it. If you look at how the visual looks here, stack one on top of each other, and it's very, very good practice to do that. So I will say inside the vertical container, right? So if you look at the layout, extend it over here, you see that you have a vertical container. I want to put a title, right? So my title will look, I can use a text, I drag it, drop it in the vertical container. I will give it sales overview dashboard, maybe something like that. Highlight it and make it a medium. I'm going for, let's do that. Change the color to this simple Tableau blue over here, right? So sales overview dashboard. I will then come here, drag my total sales, drop it like that. And I will also come here, drag my monthly sales, right? And drop it at the bottom. And that's pretty much it. You've built your first Tableau dashboard by combining different worksheets, total sales, monthly sales trend, into a dashboard called sales overview, right? You can style it a little bit better, you know, for instance, by the time I double click the elements inside the layout, I can fully highlight the container, right? See, I'm highlighting the container. Once I do that, I can add some padding. It's like, hey, don't touch the edge, add some padding, right? Pretty cool. Just gonna add a 10-10, inner and outer, right? Like so. I also want to add like a space between the main header and the subheaders, which are title, my total sales, and monthly sales trend. And we'll end it with that, right? So I'm going to go to blank and drag it in between, like so. I will give it a fixed width, click on it, drop down here, edit the width to something like 50, click OK. Fixed width, yeah, that's cool. And I think that's it, right? Like maybe change the color of this guy, because this guy is like, you know, click on format, I can click on text. How do you change the color of the guy? So you can go to the worksheets and then click on this blue. Yeah, that's better. Now sales is blue. Sales down here is blue. And you have a header, you know, you have a nice trend. I think probably like this is misleading by having it show up as million here. The text, is it the sum of sales that is showing up here? I go into format and I change it from million display to thousands. I think that's more descriptive. Yep. That's pretty much it. If you try to save, it's not going to save. You have to publish to Tableau public. So I go to file and I'll go to save the Tableau public as so this is where you sign into your account, your Tableau public account. And once you do that, you can publish. I just lost some power, so I'm having a difficult time navigating both screens. I'm seeing that a lot of people are lost. Ha, wahala. Where? No thanks, internet dropping out. Can you slow down, sir?
Hi, Toby. Okay, so there's a few people that are lost, right? I guess maybe they weren't following when you connected. So hi everyone. We really don't want to make this a recording because the truth is nobody really goes back to recordings, and there are quite a number of videos already on YouTube. We want this to be practical, right? So it's less about going back to the recording. So if you're lost, if you're not lost, can you tell us in the chat, like, if you followed so far? We're trying to find some balance here. If you have followed so far, can you say, yes, I'm following in the chat? Okay. Wow. Awesome. So there are people that are following. That is great. Thank you all so much. Okay. Okay. Following. Great. Awesome. Thank you. Okay, that's some good feedback. If you're lost, right? We have another, today is still an introduction, right? And we have another session that's going to start in another 5 minutes, right? So we will try to balance that out. That's also still an introduction session, and it will still cover a few of these things, right? Yeah, for those that are having issues with accessing Tableau, we're going to post the link to download Tableau Public again. If you cannot access it, maybe try and delete your installation and start over. Yeah, it's not sure how we can help you there, but try and delete and reinstall. Yeah. Okay, Toby, you can go ahead. Sorry to interrupt.
Thank you so much. Okay, it's great to know that a decent number of people have followed through. So I wanted to show one more feature, which is very, very nice, is the presentation mode, right? Very similar to what you have in PowerPoint. You can have a look at how it looks and it behaves. There's not a lot of behavior. It's just like a nice, simple dashboard. You can export it. You can save it as a page here. So you go to dashboard. It's not available here, is it? But in this place, it's available. If I go to dashboard, export image. Okay, so the export feature is only available in the Tableau desktop version. But Tableau public version, you would have to publish to Tableau public first before downloading. So give me 1 second, guys. I'm going to reshare. I just want to change my mental. Okay, I'm here. So I'm going to share my screen. Okay, great. So I can I'm going to publish now. I will go to this server. Nope. Go to file here and go to, maybe I will just go to save the Tableau public as, so I can give it a name. Okay. You have to have gone online to create your account first. Of course, from here as well, you can also create an account. That's pretty neat. You have a Salesforce account instead, sign in directly. So I have my account here, going to sign in. Let's do this. Book one, nope, it's going to be called Tableau Introduction to Tableau. Like so. And click save. I think it would also be like a really nice like opportunity to see like the authoring online. Yep. So can you all see my screen so far? Can you see the published Tableau workbook, the dashboard rather, right? If you can, let me see, go into the chat or Q&A. Okay, chat, so everyone can see that, awesome. So from here now, if you want to download it to a, what is it, an image, you can just come download over here and click, where is it, image, you can do that, or to PDF, or, you know, if you want to edit it as well, right, you can come here, click on edit. Yeah, so this is pretty much it. And happy to take your questions.
Thanks a lot, Tobi. Sure. So noted. We've seen a lot of feedback, people having internet issues. Okay, we're going to make the recording available for this session. There are some questions in the Q&A box. Tobi, well, just one. If you can answer, if you can see it.
Okay, last one says, so for publishing it on public, does it make it available for everyone to access, or is it still, no, it's published publicly, it's available for everyone to access. However, if you want to prevent people seeing it, you can also do that. You can click on the settings option over here and click on allow access, or show views on profile. We'll make it hidden. And allow access will prevent people from downloading the work. But it will still make it public. But removing it from this point means people won't be able to see it if they search your profile. Yeah. I hope that answered your question. I don't see, I think everything has been answered.
Well, I think she won't be able to respond, but I think that answers the question. Please show how to add the title and edit of the graph lines. Okay, what we're going to do is for that bit, we've noted this down and we'll send this in an email, a recording, like a screen recording of how to add the title and edit of the graph and how we formatted. Tobi, can you quickly show us how you formatted 2,297,201 to 2.3 million so that we can, yeah, someone has a question.
Not a problem. How that formatting works, I can go back into my sheet here, go to sheet. And in the sheet, right, the item that produces this label here is from this mark, which is a text label. So I can edit that component. I even think you can right click on it here and click on format. But I don't know if it's just this point or, you know what, let me just show you. I'm going to go from this item here, right click or click the drop down, click on format. And from the numbers pane here, I can click the display unit. I can change it. right? But if it's none, it looks like the entire thing. If it's changed to like thousands, it's, it does that. So that's, yeah.
Okay, I think that answers it. Thanks a lot, Tobi. We'll just take a 1-minute break. Tobi, do you want to talk about Resa Gratia for a bit? Just
That would be great.
of you.
Okay.
Yeah, you can just tell us 1 minute about your data bootcamp, which is a paid one, by the way. Yeah.
Yeah, so our data bootcamp is an online experience for gaining data analytics skills. It's 3-month program. It's online. You're going to learn Excel, Power BI, Tableau, and SQL. And it's designed for busy professionals and students. So October 9, we're starting the 8th cohort, and I hope you can join us. Just type Resa Data Bootcamp in Google and enroll. That's pretty much it. Thank you so much, guys. Thank you, Abby.
Thank you. Thanks a lot, Tobi. Okay, where time is fast spent, so let's just jump into Gbolahan session. A few folks have already been asking about the difference between discrete and continuous and why you had to change. So Gbolahan session is going to cover that. Yeah.
Hi, everyone. Can you guys hear me? All right. Really lovely to be here. I think it's really exciting that we can, do this together and learn and unlearn and relearn things together, basically. So for me today, I'm still like in the basic building blocks of visualization with Tableau, and I would be taking the discrete, continuous, dimensions, measures, aggregations, granularity. All of this might sound big, might sound confusing right now, but I'm very sure that at the end, I mean, to a certain degree, I guess, I'm sure to a certain degree at the end that you would have like good understanding of what this means. And hopefully you would be less confused than you are at the beginning of this video compared to the end. Just 2 things that you have to do. If you are going to communicate with friends and chat, use the chat box. If you have questions, drop it in the Q&A, and then I will attend to them after the end of my session. So I'm going to be done, and then I'll take a look at the Q&A questions, like questions in the Q&A box, and we'll go through them together. So I'll be sharing my screen. Just make sure that if you have a question in mind, drop it immediately. Don't just like think I would ask it after, drop it immediately. I'll get back to it. If you've seen a question, upvote it, and hopefully we have a fun learning experience together. So I'm going to share my screen now, and let me know when you can in the chat, basically. Let me know, guys, if you can see my screen.
We can see your screen.
All right. Okay, great. So yeah, basically, welcome to the bootcamp. We've just learned about like some introductory parts to Tableau. We've learned about like building like a very simple dashboard with charts and the fields and connecting to the data source and whatnot. And basically for me today, I would still continue in that vein. I would be talking about like some of the most basic building blocks of data visualization. First thing in mind, if you have a data set every single time, once it's in a tabular form, Excel or in your database, it's going to be in rows and columns every time. And these rows and columns are fields, right? They are fields in data sets. Every time you connect to Tableau, it's going to show the columns in the view on the left side pane, as different fields. It's going to show like all of this information there. And how do you then distinguish between what we call dimensions, measures? How do you distinguish which fields are discrete, which fields are continuous? How do you answer these questions, basically, when you're working with Tableau? I would be taking us from a slide to the other, and I would also be showing us the direct application of whatever it is that I'm showing on the slides, like on Tableau itself. So just need to follow up and just go along with me. basically. Now, blue and green pills. I don't know if this is your first time of hearing them, or you've heard them severally, or different, or maybe just this ones. We have blue and green pills in Tableau. If you connect your data sets to the desktop, it's going to show either a blue color or green color on the left-hand side. I'm going to show us now. So just to catch up quickly on some of the people that missed some parts, first thing is I am going to quickly try to connect to the Superstore data set again. You can check the chat. The link to the data set is in the chat, so you can do that and follow me if you're unable to follow the previous session. So in this case, I've opened Tableau Public. I have it opened right now. I'm just going to connect to a file, Microsoft Excel. In this case, it's an Excel file, the Superstore data set. So I click on it right now. And then what it does is it opens up the directory, like in my local folder. And then I can choose where that particular data set that I want to work with is found. In my case, the Superstore, sample Superstore, it's in the desktop folder. So I can find it right here, .xlsx. And I just have to click on it and open. So once I do that, it's going to connect to it, and it's going to take me to this pane. Quickly, I'm going to walk through this because he has already talked about it before. Now, I have 3 tabs in the Excel file, and so others, people, and returns. There is a connection or relationship between the 3, and I'm just quickly going to join that based on the connection. So just join others to people. Once I do that, then first thing is the relationship is based on the column that is common to the 2. So we have the region column in the others tab, and we also have the region column in the people tab. So I'm going to connect to the 2 based on that. And then I'm also going to drag the returns because others table is the big table, is the facts table, and then these others are the dimensions table. So I'm going to connect the people and the returns to the others table. Once I connect to it, if you click on the second one, it shows like a noodle, right? So if you click on this noodle, you will see that the relationship between the others table and the returns table is based on the order ID in both. Great, fantastic. And so if I go and I create this, it's going to be like this. And then if I go into the worksheet, into sheet 1, what do you see? You see the list of fields present in each tab. So right now we have 3 tabs because if I minimize these 3, you can see I have the others, people, and return. If I expand the others tab first, you can see it has divided it for me, Tableau, automatically based on what is thinking they should be. So you can see there is a line that is separating the first part from the second part. And this line, these fields here, every field that is here is a column in itself, right? And these fields here are divided into 2. Now, what you have at the top part here called dimensions, and then what you have at the bottom part here are called the measures. So what you have is the dimensions contain qualitative values. So what do you think about qualitative values? You have your names, the dates, the geographical data, so on and so forth. So that those fields that you can use to categorize, you can use to segment, you can use to review the details in your data. That's what you have as dimensions. And then very simple, Tableau just gives you an easy way to identify them. They are before this slight line, this slight gray line. So everything here, they're under dimensions. So the dimensions that you see here, they affect the level of detail that will get to happen in the view. Still going to come into that. Now, what you see down here below the line are the measures. They contain numeric, qualitative values that you can measure, right? Because you have to aggregate them. So for example, sales. If I want to get the sales that I've made, I'm probably not going to write each of the sales one after the other. I'm going to have sum of sales, right? Aggregated form. So sum, if you've done SQL or something like that, there are things we call aggregate functions. You have average, sum, max, mean, things like this. They aggregate the data to a single level. So all the fields that you have in your data that are aggregated are called measures, right? And so when you drag this measure to the view, which we're going to do, Tableau applies an aggregation to that measure by default. It could be sum. I think most times it's usually sum by default, just to make that clear. Now, back to blue and green pills. The main question is, do blue pills mean dimensions? Do green pills mean measures? I think we just explained what dimensions and measures are. Now, we've not talked about what discrete and continuous fields are. So you're thinking dimension, measures, discrete, continuous, 4 different, 4 different things. How do I get to identify them? Don't worry, a step at a time. We'll get there. So basically, dimensions and measures are the way Tableau organizes data. Now, let me take you back to what I just explained. We've connected to data source. The same thing that we have here is the same thing that we have in Excel. We have each field that represents each column in Excel, right? That you can see on the left-hand side pane. So this is for others. If I open the people tab, you would see region, regional manager, and people. Everything that is here is basically what is in this field. If I click on others back here, you see like you can see all the lists of the columns and the information under them. So what Tableau just does is it names each of these fields for you in the pane, right? So you come here, you see row ID, customer ID, all of that. This is sorted alphabetically. Great, fantastic. So now the question is, what do dimensions do and what do measures do? So they're just basically the way Tableau organizes data. And like I explained before, the top parts here are the dimensions automatically by Tableau, the way it just does it for you. And then the bottom parts here are what are the measures. Simple. Let's just, take that and keep that at one space in the mind. Great. I hope that's clear. And then now, blue pills mean discrete, and then green pills mean continuous. And the question is, I have not talked about what discrete and continuous mean so far yet. So continuous and discrete are just mathematical terms, basically, are mathematical terms. So continuous means when you are forming like an unbroken whole without interruption. So if something is continuous, that is, it keeps moving, it's not broken right in the middle. Once it's broken, then you can't say it's continuous, right? So if something is moving, it's an unbroken whole without interruption, then it's continuous. Discrete means when things are like individually separate and distinct. Yeah, that's I think I'm thinking of a good example. So if you have items that are like individually separate and distinct from each other, then they're discrete. Like, you have like this tally system where you have like 1, 2, 3, 4, and then you have 5 that's, crosses it in the middle. Each of those numbers are like individually on their own, they're separate, they're distinct. I hope that's clear. So blue pills mean discrete, green pills mean continuous. And now the question is, but when I explained this to you earlier, you were thinking, yes, Tableau divided this into 2. You have the top part for dimensions, you have the bottom part for measures. And now I'm saying we have the blue pills for discrete, we have the green pills for continuous. I'm confused. What's the difference? So one thing that you should keep in mind, remember this. Blue things group the data. Green things count the data. Dimensions split up the view, and then measures fill up the view. I mean, it's some of those things that I just get to remember quickly. So blue things group the data, green things count the data, dimensions split up the view, and measures fill up the view. All good. We're going to explain that and what that means, like essentially, basically. Now, sorry. What is discrete data? So we already talked about dimensions, we talked about measures, and now we talked about blue pills meaning discrete and green pills meaning continuous. I don't want anyone to get lost, so just keep following like the thought process. So what is discrete data? Let's take that first. So discrete data is data that can be grouped into different categories. It has distinct values. Now, if we look at what we have here, customer name. If you view this data right here, now what you see under customer name is we have different customers. And like, I have a name, GB, you have a name. Everyone has a unique name. Everyone has like different names. And so each of the, each value that you find in this customer name are individually separate and distinct. If you remember the explanation I gave for discrete. So what that means is if I put customer name to the rows and I say, okay, add all members, what you get to see is Tableau automatically shows like a distinct value for each of them, right? No name is repeated more than once. And then at the bottom part here, bottom left part here, there is something called 800 max written here. What this means is there are 800 unique values as customers in this view. Discrete, right? 800 max, just put at the back of your mind, max related to discrete. Great, let's explore more. So back to the slide. So discrete data has distinct values. Example is the category, the region fields in the Superstore dataset. So I showed you for customer name, which has like 800 marks. So what happens if I put, for example, category, where do I have my category? I put category here, boom, 3 marks, 1, 2, 3, 3 unique, 3 distinct categories. If you look at the bottom part here, 3 marks. If I put, for example, if I put subcategory into this view, boom, 17 marks. So this means we have 17 distinct subcategories. Discrete. I think you should be getting clearer now. So discrete data has marks, 1 mark for each unique value in the discrete field, which I already showed. Quick recap. Blue pills mean discrete, green pills mean continuous. When you load your data into Tableau, it automatically groups them into dimensions and measures. So let's keep going. It's going to be more clear. So more on discrete. What more facts do I have? Discrete fields are often used to create headers for rows and columns, or columns basically. So what do I mean? So if I want to create an header for rows and columns, I need discrete fields. What do I mean? So if I have this, for example, and you look at this, immediately I dragged, let me remove this from the view. Immediately I drag product name, for example, which is another discrete field, into the rows, and I add all my bars. You notice there's something that's up here, which is the product name, which allows me to identify the name of the column that I'm doing right now. What you have up here is called the header. And only when you put discrete fields into the view that you get headers. So 2 things now. Identifying a discrete field, a discrete field. You have a header and you have the number of marks. 1,849 marks, a lot of products. And then you have a header for the column name, identified as a discrete value. Let's keep going. Another quick fact, the more the discrete fields, the more the marks. I think basically we've shown it. We went from category having 3 marks to subcategory having 8 marks to product name having 1,849 marks. Let's say I create a new column tomorrow and then I call it order name, and I have like a list of all the others. If it is 5,000 marks, Tableau is going to display each unique mark. So that is the way you're able to know, okay, yes, this is a discrete field. Blue means discrete, like we've said, we've repeated this so many times, when we repeat things, it sticks faster. Blue means discrete, and discrete means creating marks. Perfect, great, thank you. So now we have an idea of what discrete means. So what is continuous? Where is continuous coming from? What is continuous data? Continuous data can be measured on a continuous scale. Remember when I was talking about continuous and I said, it's like when you're moving without an interruption, like continuous, right? Continuous data has an infinite number of values. Okay, let's go. So now we have this as the discrete data right that we see. Now, I want you to observe that when I drag sales into rows, it gives me first an axis, right? You can see an axis. And now what you observe at the bottom left corner, it shows 1 mark. If I had dragged like a discrete field into this view, it will show me the number of unique marks there. But when it comes to sales, Tableau automatically aggregates it. That is the level of detail in which Tableau gives it, like a wholesome level, aggregates the sales. So 1 mark, 1 row by 1 column. Sum of sales, bottom right, it shows you the total. So right here, what you see is a continuous field. It is aggregated, basically. Now, if I do the same for profits, if I do the same for quantity, it's going to be the same. If I drag profits into this view, it shows this aggregated sum of profits. This is continuous. If I decide to do for quantity, what does it do? It aggregates it. Now, if you notice, I'm changing these fields, but the number of marks that is being recognized by Tableau is still 1. It doesn't change, just 1, right? Great. So Tableau will aggregate the data whenever continuous data is placed in view. So every single time a continuous data is placed in view, trust Tableau to aggregate it. Now, it might aggregate it as sum automatically, and you're like, oh, no. If it's for sales, I do not really care about the total amount. I care about the average. And then you can change it from sum to average, right? You can change it from average to median to count to continuous. and so on and so forth. We're still going to get to more ways to identify this before time runs out. Now, next, more on continuous data. I like to give facts. Continuous data has just one mark in view as it is aggregated. I think we've seen it. If you combine discrete field with continuous field, Tableau splits up the continuous field based on the number of marks in the discrete field. This sounds interesting. We're going to show it. Green means continuous. Continuous means aggregates. Simple. Now, what do I mean? So if, okay, don't let us go too fast. You know, we had, now we have this continuous data here. And the idea is the moment we put a discrete field in the view, I don't want us to be confused. Discrete, continuous, dimensions, measures, the four. The moment we put a discrete field now into the view, right now it is showing one mark. I want you to keep an eye on what number of marks it shows the moment I drag in category to columns. 3 marks. What happens? Tableau splits up that sum of sales into the 3 distinct categories that we have. So furniture has its own sum of sales, office supply has its own sum of sales, technology has its own sum of sales. So now it means the total sum of sales that we have in the business has been split into 3. These 3 are the 3 unique categories. So what does this mean? This means like if I put subcategory to replace category, if you remember, I think subcategory had 17 different marks. You're going to see the sum of sales for each of the subcategories. So if I drag this and replace this here, voila, you see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, down right to 17. 17 marks by 1 row, each mark for each sum of sales. Easy. So when you put this against each other, what you have is you are putting the distinct value here against the continuous value here. Easy. Now, let's move on. Facts to go. I love facts. Any field in the data can be made discrete, continuous, dimension, or measure. You're thinking, how? What do you mean? Now, if you remember vividly, when we loaded the data into Tableau, Tableau automatically by itself grouped it into dimensions and measures. So let's say, for example, you put something in dimensions that we feel like it shouldn't be in measures, or vice versa. What do? Do we just say, okay, yeah, Tableau is saying that, so I'm just going to go along with it? So no, there is an easy way for us to switch from dimensions to measures. And Tableau is such an amazing tool that all you need to do is just drag and drop to do that. So moving, for example, this to this. Now, if you see, if I take this quantity and I try to push it up, it's going to show me, oh my God, sorry guys. It's going to show me that you are taking it from measures to dimensions. You can see that you can see like written in yellow, like, is it yellow now or orange? Sorry. And then you have the line separating them. So it means you are taking it from measures straight up to dimensions. And then if I take, for example, ship mode downwards, it's going to tell me you want to move ship mode from dimensions to measures. So this is it. If you want to switch between dimensions and measures, all you need to do is to take it from the top part and take it below that line. That line is what Tableau says. I'm drawing this single line. Remember, like, draw this line if you want to fight crossover. If you don't want to, if you want, it's just at the other end. Basically the same idea. So you have discounts, profits, quantity as measures. If you want them to be dimensions, take them up. If you want the measures, if you want the dimensions to be measures instead, bring them down, basically. Now, to switch between dimensions and measures, like I said, drag field above or below the line that separates them. Now, to switch between discrete and continuous, right-click on the field. So what that means is we can have combinations of 4. No, now we have discrete, continuous, dimension, and measures. These 4. Now we can switch between them. We can have a discrete continuous, we can have a discrete dimension, and so on and so forth. We'll get to that before time runs out. But if, for example, you are seeing a discrete field here, and then you feel, no, this shouldn't be a discrete field, this should be a continuous field. And then all you need to do is just, in this case, 2. Either click on this drop-down icon that you can see, and Tableau says, convert to continuous. Easy. It tells you, do you want to convert this to continuous? Am I offering you the wrong option here? Now you can switch it to continuous. If you want to also do that, you can also right-click on this to give you the same list of options, convert to measure. Basically, Now, you can convert this, for example, to continuous because, it's region, and then region is already like having its own, distinct values. But for something like row ID, we can convert it to continuous. And thinking about it, so what would the continuous of row ID be? It's probably the count of row ID and count the extent of row ID. You cannot get the sum of row ID. You cannot get the average of row ID. So the options that you would get when you actually convert this to continuous would either be count or count the extent. I hope it's becoming clearer, basically. So what this means is Tableau allows us the flexibility of moving in and out of dimensions, measures, discrete, and continuous based on your own choice and what you decide to see. So let's go. Now let's define the four. Quick reminder, keep it in mind. Discrete creates headers. Continuous creates axis. I don't think I showed that. So what do I mean? If I drag sales to rows, there is an axis, not an header. You can see that it has an axis that ranges is from 0 to 2,400K, and if you double click into this axis, you can see the range. So Tableau is taking it from 0 to, I don't know, this is like in millions, for example. So Tableau is taking it from this range to this, right? That is for continuous, remember. If it is for discrete, what is going to show? An header. If I replace this, and I remove this, what do you have here? The region header that shows the header. So region headers, continuous axis. Dimensions at this, splits of the view, measures, aggregates, or fill up the view. So this right now is a dimension, and also it's discrete. If you click on this down here, you can see it's a dimension, right? Good. And also it's discrete because what? It is showing you an header. So right now, it is going to split up the view. What do I mean? If I decide to, as a measure, aggregate the view. So that means aggregate means, sum. So if I put sales to rows, which is going to show the sum, and I want to split up the view, I'm not going to put profit because the moment I put profit, it does not split up the view. What it does is it shows me two axes, telling me that, no, bro, these two are continuous fields. But let's say I'm interested in splitting up the sales by the region. What I have to do is to bring in region, which is a discrete dimension. That is, it is discrete. It is going to give me headers. It is a dimension. It's going to split up the view. So if I put this here, it splits it up. Different regions, west, east, south, central. This is the amount of sales you have there. Splits it up. I hope the number of times we've repeated existing. So this is just a quick reminder on each type. Now, combining the four. So we've defined the four, and now how can we combine it? If you remember, I said Tableau allows us to switch in and out of how we can use this. So when we create discrete dimensions, it creates headers, and it also shows the number of marks. What do I mean? Now look at what I have here. This is a discrete dimension. I think this should not be strange right now because I just dragged the customer name to the rows. Two things are happening right here in the view. There is a header. Oh, good, yes, that's discrete. That's telling me that it's discrete. Now, it's splitting up the view by showing me that there are 800 marks in this customer name. And so right now, what I'm seeing here is a discrete dimension. Another example of that is, now, let's say I put sales to the view. Let me do this entirely. I put sales to the rows. Right now, this is continuous, right? This is continuous. This is a continuous measure. This is continuous and it is aggregated. And I want to make it a discrete dimension. For example, you might think, why would we want to do that? So we'll probably think of a use case for that. And then I click on this drop down. I can change it to discrete by what? Switching to discrete. By switching to discrete, what do you observe? It no longer shows it like axis-wise. It does what? It gives it what? A header. But the number of marks has not changed. So that means right now, it is not yet a dimension. It is still continuous. Number of marks, 1. So continuous number of marks, 1. But the headers has appeared. So it is what already, it is now discrete. Now, how do I change it to have several marks? That is, I want to make it what? A dimension now. Click on the drop down, change it to dimension. Now, what do you observe? It has several marks now, but there is no header. And instead of header, it's an axis. So that means right now, it is continuous and it is a dimension. but I'm not there yet. What I want to see is a dimension that is discrete. So I just have to click this down again and change this to discrete. And what do you observe? There is a header here, and then there is the number of marks here. So right now, I'm pretty sure that it is a discrete dimension. And this right now is just showing each of the price of the sales that we made, each of the different customers. So if I'm also interested in saying, so how much sales did we make for each of the price, for example, and I sort this, you can see that what this is going to show, there might not be like a very large use case of you having sales as a discrete dimension. But if I want to see like for each of the sales amounts that I sold something, so I sold this for 200 Naira, so this for 3406.664, how much sales did I make? So by showing this as a discrete dimension on the left-hand side, and then having this sum of sales, which is now a continuous measure, right? If you remember on this place, it's showing for this, we had this number of sales. For this amount that we sold this, we have this number of sales, and then you can compare in the descending order that way, basically. So that's for that. That's for discrete and dimensions. Create headers, and it will give you what? Marks. For discrete and measures, it's going to split up the view, and it's going to aggregate the marks. Now, if I go back to this example I already have, for discrete, and I think my discrete and measures now, you can see that I have customer name. Let's create it ourselves. I think it's more fun when we do that. If I put customer name into the view and I add odd members, this is a discrete dimension. Why? Because we have the header and we have the total number of marks. And I want to convert this to a discrete measure. Now, all these things we are saying, it's not just theoretical. There are use cases for them. There might be use cases where you want to see the count the extent of your customer name. So that means in that case, it's a discrete measure. You want to like get the aggregation of the total number of customers that you have, right? And then you still want to have it to get the header at the top part here. So how do I make this a discrete measure? Now, right now it's already discrete. How do I know it's discrete? GB, I'm thinking discrete. How is it discrete? It has a header. So yes, that's it. It's discrete. And then once I click on the drop down, I can change it to a measure. But the number of options I have for customer name is limited to 4. Why? Because it's customer name. Of course, we can't get the sum of customer names, but we can get the minimum of customer names, probably by alphabetical order. We can get the maximum of customer name, also by alphabetical order. We can get the count of customer name. That is, if a customer appears more than once, it's going to show us, it's going to add it together. We can get the count distinct of customer. That is, it is just going to give a single customer a single value. So that means if I show this, for example, as count distinct, now, if I show this now as count distinct, what you have here is, it is a measure and it is continuous, right? So we don't want that. We want it to be a dimension that is a measure, right? That was where we are. Yes, discrete and measure. So we want it to be a discrete value that is also a measure. So it's not a discrete value right now because obviously there is no header. So let's change this now to discrete. So just click on this, and then what do you have? You have the header, right? And then it is also a measure. Why is it a measure? Because just it has aggregated it to one mark, but you still have an header. So this right here is, let me see, it has a discrete. That's just one mark, measure, a discrete measure. So same thing. Like I said, I was thinking about how we could do a use case for that. I think we already tried to show that a use case where we want to show the different sales we made in terms of like region, and then how much sales we made for them. So this is just showing like the total value of them, and then this is showing like the aggregated view. So what do you observe? Now let me do it like this. Right here, we have sum of sales. It has the header. It's a discrete dimension right now. Now, if I want to see this, I want to see like the axis wise. I want to see like the aggregated view, in the form of a bar chart. Once I drag this into this place, it is what? It is now continuous. Why? That's an axis. Discrete header, continuous axis. It has an axis. Now, I'm interested in seeing the performance of this across different regions. What comes to your head? I want to split it into different regions. So what? So I need to bring in a dimension, because what a dimension will do is split up the view. If I'm interested in also seeing the header of that dimension, so I have to make that dimension what? Discrete. So the moment I take this And for example, I look for region. Where's region? It should be under location. And I put region right here. What does it do? Splits it up. Region, central, sales. This is it. East, this is that. So it splits it up. Now, how do I know that right here it's discrete? See, region, header, sales, header. 4 marks, which means what? It is a dimension. I know it's tricky, discrete dimension, continuous measures, but remember one more time, discrete as headers, continuous as axis, dimension splits up the view, so it has several marks, measures aggregates the view, so it has just one single mark. So let's move faster. Continuous and dimension. So when you have continuous dimensions, it creates axis and it disaggregates the marks. So continuous and dimensions, for example, in this case, it's like when you have your sum of sales, when you have, in this case, I converted customer name to this. What do I mean? If I want to show customer name, I want to compare its the trend over time, for example. I want to see like how many customers we've had over time. I don't have a field that shows sum of customers. I just have each customer names and I can aggregate them together. So I just have to, drag customer names to rows. Right now it's showing it as a discrete dimension, but I want to see how the trend has moved over time. So I need it to be aggregated. So I just click on this drop down. I change to a measure, count the extent. Now you see it's aggregated. Now I want to see it over time. So in this case, I will drag other dates, which will split up the view. So you can see like a quick line chart, an application of this. So no, I'm interested in like seeing it on a monthly basis. So I click on this. Now you can see that for January, 160, February, 146, that way. Now, this returns to a table. If I change this to a discrete, because it's going to have to give each of these ones like, their own value. So it splits up the view, the top one to split up the view. But I want it to be continuous because I'm interested in seeing how it is moving continually over time without an interruption. So this is what you have for a continuous dimension. Second use case for a continuous dimension, you want to see like the volume of sales over time based on the axis. How do we know it's continuous? It has an axis. How do we know it's dimension? How do we know it's a dimension? It has, how many marks? 6,161. If you click on this drop down, you can see it is a dimension, and also you can see that it is continuous. If you are confused, you're thinking, how do I know which is which? Just click on this drop down. Tableau will allow you to click between. You can see if it is dimension, and you can also see if it is continuous, basically. So back to the slide, sorry. We have our most common use case for this. So we are thinking, oh my God, we have like 4 different combinations. We can combine it, not just we have 4 different types, and we can combine it in, I don't know, is it permutation or what you call it? So which one do I get to use the most? And it is the discrete dimension by continuous measure. Now let's go back to it. That is what you get to use the most times, because most times your question is, oh, how many sales have we had by region? How much sales, sorry, not how many, because we can't count it. How much sales have we had by region? How much profits have we had by which region is generating the most profits? Questions like this. It generated the most profits. What just drag profits to what? To rows. So this is aggregated. This is the total amount of profit. It's showing it continuously. 1 mark. Remember, axis. So this is what continuous measure. To what? To columns, for example, in this case. Now, what do you see? It is a discrete dimension. Why is it a discrete dimension? Discrete in front of it, it has the header. Dimensions in front of it has splitted it into 4 marks. So discrete dimension by usually like the combination that is used like the most. Discrete dimensions by continuous measure. So don't be surprised if most of the times this is what you get to deal with. But of course, you can convert them interchangeably amongst themselves. So granularity and aggregation. So what do we mean by granularity? Granularity just refers to the level of detail in the data, how fine or coarse the data is. Now, if I have, for example, in this case, I want to put two continuous measures against each other. So let me just clear this and let's do it together. So I want to see which product, which subcategory is performing best in terms of sales and profits. So sales and profits, they are continuous measures, the two of them. So let's say I put sales. Now, that means we want to be the scatter plot, Sales and profits are comparing what two numerical quantities. So of course, that's that most best use case in this case is going to be a scatter plot. So we have sales and profits in this case. So sum of sales against sum of profits. Now, what do you observe? It has just one mark. Remember, it says the both of them are both continuous measures. So it has just now this is a very aggregated level of granularity. It is just one mark, right? If you over on it, you see profits 292,297, sales 236,534, right? So what you just have here is a single dot that shows the highest value of profits and also shows the highest value of sales, basically. Now, we are interested in seeing how the customers or how the subcategory has performed in everything. Now, how do we split this up? Now, once we have splits, oh yeah, that's dimension. So I have to drag in the number, the field that contains the customer. If I drag it into detail, now you have the max card here. Color, size, label, detail, tooltip, and shape. Color based on you determining what is going to affect the color. Shape based on determining the size of this. The bigger it is, the more the sales or more profits. Label is just you putting like the annotations on top of it so you can see the name, which we are going to do, no worries. Detail is like you are putting something in to show it into more details. You are increasing the level of granularity. You are taking it deeper from more aggregated to less aggregated. So yes, detail, that sounds like what I would need. So what do I need to do? I just have to drag in what the subcategory into detail. What happens? Now, before I drag the thing, we had just one mark. Now, the moment I drag subcategory into detail, observe, we have 17 marks. Now, the reason being, subcategory is a dimension. Remember, it's a dimension. And so the moment I put it into the view, it splits it up. It breaks it everywhere, It's like you have many pebbles in a bag and you have it on sand and you just pour the pebbles. Everybody splits up to their own position, That one are faster, but this one based on the sales and profits. So what do you observe here? You have 17 marks. So that means a dimension is working in this view. This is continuous, that's an axis. This is continuous, that's an axis. Now, you can see the top performing one here. So let's say in this case, we now want to, see the label, like we want to see the names, now everything is just circles. We're interested in seeing what are the names of these guys that are here. So what you just need to do, quite simple, take subcategory and put it on what? On label. Each of these marks can determine what you get to see in the view. So if I put subcategory in label, voila, Tableau gives each of the circles their specific subcategory names. And so fonts is performing high in terms of sales, it's performing high in terms of profits. Amazing. iPhones are expensive and people love iPhones. So making money, we can charge more profit. Oh, fantastic. But tables are having a lot of sales, but like less profits. We are making loss. If you can see, like, this is the negative part of it. Oh, okay, why? Maybe seasonality or, whatever it is that is responsible for that. But what you just have here is, I have already put the subcategory to labels. Now, I have 17 marks. 17 marks being the number of subcategories. If I drag the sales, for example, into size, I want you guys to watch the number of marks that is at the bottom left. Now, you see the bigger the sales, let me make, instead of having this shape to just, this one to be like this, let me just change it from automatic. Let me change it to circle. And let me increase the size. Now, what this is just basically saying is the higher the circle, the bigger the circle, the more the quantity that is being compared. So in this case, we have phone doing particularly very well in terms of sales and profits. But when I put sum of sales to size, the number of marks did not increase. Why? Because it is a measure. So it's not going to split up the view anymore. But if I put region to color, watch what happens to the number of marks. This is not ideal in terms of visualization, by the way. But what happens to the number of marks? It has turned to 68. An extra dimension is being added. It is splitting it up again. It is increasing the level of granularity. So the more the dimension fields that are added to the view, the more the marks and the deeper the granularity. The less dimension views that you have and you're having more measures, the more aggregated it is. And so that just simply explains granularity. So granularity just explains the level of detail that you have in the view. So if we're comparing just subcategory, against a subcategory performance in terms of sales and profits, we have just 17 marks, 17 subcategories. The moment I decide to split it up so that the different subcategories can have different colors for like central, east, south, and west, what do you observe? It increases, right? It increases 68 marks now. Granularity is deeper. So granularity, aggregation, just basically when you add dimensions to the view, it splits it up. Granularity keeps going, increasing. But when you add the measure, it's just going to show it as a single map. It's basically aggregated, basically. So example of granularity data is when we are showing sales data daily, we are showing each day, then you can, let's say we start on a higher level of granularity. We have year by sales. Let me see, let's show that seeing is believing. So we have other dates here, and then we have sales here. And let's say we want to make it a bar chart, for example. And you have you can see the highest here in terms of sales to the lowest here, basically. Now, if I click on this plus here, what Tableau does it will break it down. Now, instead of seeing just by year, I'm also seeing by quarter. What do you observe? The marks has increased, right? From 4 years, each year now has its own quarter. So the level of granularity has gone deeper, so more marks now. Now, if I decide to break this quarter into months, what happens in terms of marks? 48 now. It increases. Each quarter has its months, and each year has its quarter. So it level of granularity, keep going. So that's just it. So you have from a higher level of granularity, and then you can keep diving deeper that way, basically. So you can move from sales daily, monthly, yearly, basically. And then you can have examples of aggregation, sum of sales, sum of profits, average of sales, average of profits, things like this. What you're going to see in sum of sales, if you have it in a view, if I put sales here, it's going to show me sum of sales automatically. If I want to split it up, let's say I put it by product name, which is going to be a lot. So let me say I put it by region. Where are you? Region. So now you see that it's aggregated on sum of sales. If I want to aggregate it by average, I can just change this to what? To average. Then change this. If I want to aggregate it based on median, I can do that too. So that is aggregated based on different values, on different levels, sum, average, count, extent, median, and so on and so forth. So the resources that you can use to access me about this is going to be in the slide. It's going to be shared. You can also see more videos that will help to explain this. And yes, so basically, I hope this helps to summarize what we meant from the start about discrete, dimensions, continuous, and measures. So discrete, don't forget, discrete creates headers, continuous create axis. When you have a dimension, it increases the number of marks, it splits up the view. When you have a measure, there is just a single mark, it aggregates or fill up the view. Thank you so much. I'm going to stop sharing now. And if you have questions, you can please go ahead and ask.
Thank you so much, Gbolahan. Someone has a question, hand raised. I would allow you to talk. Safiano, do you want to ask your question? Okay, doesn't look like it's there. There's a question in the Q&A box. I think this was asked previously, but you may have covered it, but in case you want to voice over.
Okay, please, does it mean measures carry continuous values and dimensions carry discrete values? So basically it's more, you can switch between like what you have, you can have a dimension and switch it to a measure, by taking it up and below that line. And you can also move from a discrete value to a continuous value based on the use case in which you have. So it's a situation which is based on your own use case for it. Like I said, for example, customer name is automatically, in Tableau is going to be a discrete dimension. There are going to be several customers, 800 customers, 1,000 customers. But if you're interested in seeing the number of customers that have come through like over a year, it's going to have to be continuous because it has to be continuous. So you'd have to change it from a discrete, to continuous, for that case. So you want it to be a continuous measure so that you can see like this is total number and at an aggregated level, count the extent of customers. So it's something that you switch in between based on your use case.
Thanks, Gbolahan. Someone has a question. Shadrach, you can unmute and ask your question. Do you want to voice over your question? Shadrach Okute. Does anybody else have any questions? I don't think Shadrach is speaking. Okay, Shola Emiade.
Hello?
Yes.
Yeah.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Can you hear me? Hello?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
Oh, thank you for this session. The class is becoming more clearer now. My question is for presentation purpose, what's the best granularity are we to present? Are we to make it deeper or less or lower?
So, yeah, most times I would say like depends on like the use case for like your stakeholders, for example. But one thing that I found out like really helps is when you provide the ability for a drill down, right? So you could decide to show sales on a yearly basis, but you might probably not be there when the stakeholder is saying, oh yes, I understand like 2023 was the year we made the most sales, but I'm interested in like checking the quarter from 2019 to 2023. I'm interested in checking the quarter that has made the most sales. And so would you want a situation which the stakeholder would have to like Slack you or send a mail, please, can you help me do this to dive deeper, like, be able to like go deeper into the data. So Tableau automatically allows you to create an option where the stakeholder himself can say, okay, from yearly, drill down to monthly. Okay, from yearly to quarterly, from quarterly to monthly, from monthly to daily. So to answer your question, I think there might not be like this is the best to put it in, but what you can do is you create a potential, you can use the parameter and whatnot to get to that stage later in the future to allow the stakeholder move based on what he wants to see. So you can allow him go deeper or, be on a higher level of granularity based on it. So just make sure you provide the option for the stakeholder to switch and dive deeper if he wants to. You would learn that subsequently, don't worry.
All right, thank you.
Yeah.
Does Shola want to ask his question? No. Okay. Does anybody else have any question that they want to ask? If not, we'll just round up. We have 5 minutes. Okay. All right. Thanks a lot. Thanks for the feedback as well. Feedback is great. People are learning. We're going to send a follow-up email. This follow-up email would have a recording. We're going to upload the recording and then share the link with you. It would also have a link to the first session, Tobi's workbook, so that you can attempt to recreate it. It will have this slide by Gbolahan. It can also include Gbolahan's workbook. Also a few videos on how to format as well. Also maybe a few videos on just explaining deeper the Tableau interface. Again, 2 hours is definitely not enough. So if you want to make the best out of this bootcamp, please go over the resources that we're sharing. Next class, which is next week, Saturday. Saturday's class is by 2 p.m. Between 2 and 4, we're going to go deeper into like basic visualization, how to use like the basic charts in Tableau. And I can quickly share my screen to show you what that looks like. 1 second. So if you can see my screen, when you come here, right, there's something called Show Me. Tableau gives you like multiple default type of charts, right? We're going to walk you through how you can use like this basic Show Me. Oh, my screen is not showing. Is it showing?
Yeah, your screen is blank.
Oh, it's blank. Okay, let me try and share again. Okay, can you see my screen now? Okay, so yeah, next week we're just going to walk through Show Me. We're going to walk you through how to use this basic Tableau charts, right? The default charts. We're also going to walk through how to use the different type of filters in Tableau. So please check the emails we're going to send to you. Yes, I should link the class timetable. Okay, yes, let me quickly share the type. I'm going to share that now again. So that's the link that I just shared. It has the details of each session, the timetable for the rest of the class, but I can share my screen again to show you. Yeah, so this is timetable. Next week, Saturday, 2 p.m., 2 to 4, we have basic visualization in Tableau, everything about filters in Tableau. On Sunday, we're going to talk about data preparation. Someone was asking today about joining and blending. Next week, Sunday, we'll focus on that. So that's what's happening next week. So please get ready. Saturday, 2 to 4, Sunday, 5 to 7. Let me see, did I miss any other question? You can't copy the link. Just click on the link. You don't need to copy it. Click on the link and it would open in your browser. Thank you. Idris, Gbolahan, Tobi, do you have any final words?
No.
None? Okay, awesome. We're right on time. Thank you all so much. Okay, I will send a form for feedback as well, so please fill the form. Idris, you wanted to say something? Sorry, Gbolahan, you wanted to say something?
I thought I saw like someone said the question quickly.
Question. I can't see any question.
In the charts, in the Emeka.
In Emeka, I can't see. Please, if you have a question, you can use the raise hand feature. The link to the chat is the group chat t.me/weviz. If you just want to connect with people and ask questions, t.me/weviz. I'm posting it as well in the chat. In Emeka, okay, I can see. Yes.
Hello guys. Let me start by saying thank you so much. The tutorial was really helpful. But let me quickly get to my question. I'm actually preparing for my Tableau desktop specialist exam. So I wanted to know if there's if I could get referrals to resources I can use to prepare for the exams.
Okay, yeah. If you can send me an email, I think that works. Or you can just drop a note in the chat to say you're looking for resources for the desktop. In the t.me, in the Telegram group. I think I can share something with you there. Let me stop the recording.